go, buddy. Hop off the tripod.
Daddy, what's that?
That's a frame, mate.
Dad, I'm stuck. Also, wet things can't fly. The wet bugs can't fly that have wings.
Oh, he's off.
So in this section, I was playing music in the shed, none of which I can afford to license and put in the video. So for the next 3 minutes or so, it'll be volume down. It gives us a good chance to chat about the project. I was given this kangaroo from the game manager at a property that my mum does some gardening at. So when it came to me, it was frozen in a woolies bag. So I had to defrost it, which I did in a bucket of salty water. While the hide was defrosting, I built the basic frame to stretch the hide to. So I used timber from Bunnings and drilled holes to run the string through. But just grabbing a few sticks will work just as well. You just probably want a side length of around 6 feet. The pressure washer was great for defleshing, and I reckon it seems to be quicker than doing it by hand, but you do need to weigh that up against the water use. The poor dog, he didn't stray too far from me during this. I think seeing pieces of stinky fat fly off was driving him pretty mad, the poor fella. So once that was all done, it was a few good washes in a bucket. And I did some research before settling on the borax and alum tanning method. It seemed easy enough. The ingredients are naturally occurring, which I liked, and available, which is sort of the big thing. It took 3 applications of the paste. So the first 2 are 24 hours apart, and then you leave the final one on for sort of 5 days to a week. After that, you scrape off the dried paste. I just used a spoon, and you give the hide a bit of a sand, which helps sort of loosen up some leftover of the dried paste. I knew I wanted to make a pair of shoes, and decided to dye the hide to even the colour out a bit. I made a couple of prototypes, and I had a good idea of how I wanted the shoes to look and fit. I developed paper patterns and sort of used those to start cutting up the hide to the right shape. Kangaroo skin's pretty thin, and it thins out the further you get away from the spine. So I chose to reinforce it with some veg tan cow leather in a couple of key spots, so around the heel and where the laces come through, just so they don't pull through completely. I also made some soles from cow leather, and these have got sort of a removable kangaroo liner in them, so I can just unpick the sole when it wears out and pretty easily just cut and stitch a new one onto it. The natural leather is also a fair bit lighter in colour, so this kind of made for a nice aesthetic contrast. Those bits got glued into place, and then I used stitching irons to go around the edges. So that's the little tools that you hammer on to punch those little diamond-shaped holes for stitching. This project took a lot of hand stitching, and if you want to give something like this a try, I'd really recommend making a stitching pony. Having something to sort of hold your workpiece securely and at a comfortable height is really valuable. I used wax cotton thread. Bought that from a marine supplies place. It worked really well. It picked up a lot of colour from the residual dye and ended up looking a bit grubby, but that sort of is what it is. All up, the project took just under 2 months, from tanning to having a finished pair of shoes. Most of that time was spent trying to build up the motivation to go and do some hand stitching. I do have a bit of experience with leatherwork, but mostly in the realm of little pouches and knife sheaths, so this was pretty ambitious for me. Even after doing some prototyping and ironing out a few issues, there's still plenty about the final things, like a pair I'd like to change. If I ever decided to have another go, I'd likely invest in a heavy-duty sewing machine first. The project was challenging and fun at times. It was my first go at tanning and making shoes, so overall I'm really happy with how it went. Thanks, and enjoy the video.